The Bai line, extinguished by their own blood. Now, off you go. When you're ready to return to the root of your cycle of death and rebirth, come and find me.
Leaving Cloudspire behind, Wuchang sets foot on Mt.Zhenwu, a forested region steeped in myths about the origin of the feathering. Here lies the legend of an ancient Avian tribe known as the Bo people, said to be the last living remnants of the ancient Shu kingdom, a civilization that flourished thousands of years ago. Legends claim the Bo people descended from bird-like beings known as Avians. After a factional war between Duyu and Biling around the 7th century BC buried the Bo capital and Biling's faction deep underground, erasing them from history, Duyu led the surviving members of his tribe to the surface, founding the ancient Shu kingdom and becoming revered as the king of Shu. But both the Shu kingdom and the Bo people eventually vanished from recorded history. So why does an Avian tribe still linger deep within this forest? The answer lies in their blood. The red mercury in this game is not a plant, not a mineral, and not a man-made substance. It is the coagulated blood of the Bo people. In the English version of the game, the origin of red mercury remains vague, but the Chinese version explicitly states that red mercury is formed from the coagulated blood of the feathered people, containing the mysterious essence of their race. Through symbiosis with sea lilies, it spreads and thrives in the soil of Shu. Even after abandoning their bird-like forms, their blood retained avian traits, just as causality cannot easily be overturned. They preserved traditions such as blood sacrifices at altars and hanging coffins on mountain cliffs, rituals meant to keep themselves close to their bird-like ancestors. Beneath the Shu sanctum lies an ancient sacrificial site, where the Bo people once offered blood and flesh to their deities by hanging coffins. This is why red mercury and sea lilies grow so abundantly beneath the Shu sanctum.
They say that their dead are placed in hanging coffins, where apparently they grow wings and take flight when the time is right. Rumor has it they fly toward nearby forests. Over time, stories of the great feathered one began to surface.
Through generations of sacrificial rites, some corpses, infused with red mercury, mutated and atavistically reverted to their feathered form. These beings clawed their way out of coffins, took to the skies, and vanished into the forest, founding new tribes and hunting humans for sustenance.
Those who were caught alongside me have been devoured one by one. I feel my turn shall soon come.
Though they have ascended back to their bird-like forms, they are but faint remnants of the glory once held by their ancestors. Beings who commanded wind and rain, conjuring mighty gales with a single flap of their wings. Among them is a graceful and formidable female avian known as the Bo Sorcerer. She possesses a striking blue-feathered form, perhaps the closest to the majesty their ancestors once embodied. Now, she reigns as the tribe's leader. This birdman tribe descends from Du Yu's lineage, which once blended into the human world long ago. After death, they underwent feathered ascension within their hanging coffins beneath the Shu sanctum, as previously mentioned. Wuchang can still hear echoes of Du Yu's teachings in the Sorcerer's words.
The wheel of fate turns beyond our eyes. In this timeless illusion, where does our true path lie?
Life's cycle moves on. I pleaded for guidance, only to be met with silence.
The marsh they inhabit remains guarded by surviving avian descendants of Du Yu's bloodline, existing for thousands of years. Inside the marsh, numerous nests reveal their bird-like way of life. They exhibit the same behavior as their ancestors, hunting humans as a source of sustenance. Though surprised by Wuchang's ability to wield avian powers, the sorcerer still regards her as an inferior being, a mere insect to be crushed for daring to toy with forces beyond her kind. Because the tribe preyed on humans, a renowned general of the Shu Han regime during the Three Kingdoms period, Zhao Yun, was once ordered to slay a feathered demon that terrorized the people of Shu. After a brutal battle, Zhao Yun slew the demon leader and seized a rare chisel from them. From that day on, every succeeding tribal leader vowed to reclaim the lost relic. Seeing Zhao Yun accompany Wuchang is like confronting an age-old nemesis. The bow sorcerer attacks with unforgiving intent. True to the legends of her kin, her skills and powers are lethal and impossibly graceful, beyond anything a human could dream of matching. But in the end, any act that defies the laws of nature invites retribution. If not by the hand of gods, then by the hands of those they least expect. To understand the concept of the inner demon and how it ties to the Avian's feathering, we need to trace back to the time of Du and Biling. In the age of the Avians, a mystical gate appeared from the void called the Gate of Truth, resembling the manifestation of an outer god. Du, who had met the god beyond the gate, emerged with an artifact that could grant power and immortality to the Avians. The god behind the Gate of Truth in this game strongly reflects the concept of Yog-Sothoth, with ominous eyes and writhing tendrils. A god from the Cthulhu mythos described as the key and the gate, the ultimate lord of time and space, formless and omnipresent, with an ever-watchful, all-seeing eye. The nameless eye item clearly describes this god, Yog-Sothoth. But why introduce the concept of the Cthulhu mythos into a Chinese-themed world of causality and the cycle of reincarnation? This will be explained when we reach the Bow capital in the next chapter. Returning to Du, after meeting Yog-Sothoth, he was granted the power to bestow magic and immortality upon the Avians. Through the branches of sea lilies, which embodied the harmony of all things, emerged nature's purest essence, translucent crystals known as Avian tears. These granted immense abilities to command wind and rain and to prolong life. However, no god gives anything for free, and all power in the world comes at a price. While the Avians gained power and longevity, they lost vitality and clarity of mind. Realizing that tampering with the circle of life would bring doom to his people, Du decided to abandon his dream of immortality for the Avians and urged them to follow the natural law, to be born, to age, and to die. But the game of gods is always cruel. Those who have tasted immortality cannot easily abandon it. Biling, instead of absorbing the pure essence of the avian tears born through the sea lilies, discovered a way to nurture the lilies with blood, creating a twisted sustenance for immortality, later known as red mercury. This concept ties closely to the principle of causality in Chinese belief, Yingguo, which literally means cause and effect, or seed and fruit. The seed is the cause, which bears the fruit as the effect. If the sea lilies are the tree, then the avian tears are the fruit born from the seed of pure essence of heaven and earth, while red mercury is the fruit born from the seed of blood, an act of sin that violates ethical principles. And any obsession that leads to sin will bear punishment and retribution. In this game, it is represented by the inner demon, which brings madness and the loss of self. Madness stems from one's deepest fears or obsessions, most often the fear of death or an obsession with immortality. Those with a strong will to confront it may shatter it, while those who succumb will lose themselves and become mere puppets of power. The Red Avians of Beiling's faction are manifestations of inner demons born from the fear of death, consumed by madness and enslaved by power. Wuchang's inner demons are similar. The Nightmare Demon is born from her fear of endless suffering in the cycle of reincarnation, a demon born from her wariness with eternal return. It harnesses Wuchang's accumulated karma to travel through time and space. When Wuchang is resurrected at a shrine, this demon travels to the site of her last death, attempting to kill her and force her to abandon her obsession with reviving her sister Bai and break free from the cycle of reincarnation. The obsession demon, on the other hand, is born from her fear of losing her sister forever, a demon shaped by Wuchang's attachment.
Bai Yu, it's time to bring you home!
In countless previous reincarnations, Wuchang had tried endlessly to save her sister, but every attempt ended in failure. This regret and resentment gradually accumulated across endless lifetimes, forming this demon. The difference between these two inner demons lies in the oracle bone script on their chests. One means incomplete or not yet, while the other means birth of beginning. These details tie directly to the purpose of the two inner demons. The obsession demon is bound by her desire to revive her sister and cannot move on, bearing the incomplete script. Meanwhile, the nightmare demon, weary of the endless cycle of reincarnation and longing to move on, bears the beginning script. The war between Duyu and Bieling was not simply a conflict between factions, but a war of ideologies. Both had witnessed the catastrophic outcome of altering causality. One side chose to forsake their obsession with immortality, while the other accepted any price, even sacrificing others and violating moral principles, to obtain it. Sealing Bieling inside the Gate of Truth cost Duyu his divine power. He forsook his Avian form and led his kin to the surface to establish the Shu Kingdom. Yet the rift between Avians beneath the Bo capital continues to this day, and Bieling's ideology is not dead. It now festers beneath the Shu Sanctum at the hands of a Bo Magus.
You can hear them, can't you? Those strange whispers pulling you toward somewhere. This is my inner demon, a torment that's lingered far too long. Defeat it, or it will be the end of you.
The white-robed elder that Wuchang encounters numerous times, always joking about punishing her if she succumbs to madness, turns out to be none other than Zhao Yun, the legendary general of Shu Han during the Three Kingdoms period. One of the 5 tiger generals of Liu Bei, alongside iconic figures like Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, Zhao Yun was celebrated for his unwavering loyalty and indomitable will. Zhao Yun's grave is located in a secluded area near the Avian Marsh. He was buried with respect and admiration, and Taoist seals were erected to ward off evil and keep his resting place at peace. However, the chisel he held brought him back to life. He emerged through a gate formed by divine magic, resembling the Gate of Truth of Yog-Sothoth, but marked with the ancient Chinese oracle bone script for Wei, meaning incomplete, hinting at the return of someone whose lingering obsession remains unresolved. Thus, the tomb was named the Cloth Tomb, or Cenotaph, for there is no body inside. Long ago, he was ordered to eliminate an Avian tribe that terrorized the people of Shu. After a victorious yet costly battle, Zhao Yun seized a rare chisel, but every one of his soldiers perished in the fight. This loss filled Zhao Yun with deep resentment, a wound that never healed, a memory that became an unyielding obsession.
For days I trailed the monster. It led me here, where illusions grow more frequent. I must be close to its nest. This here is an old battleground, grave to many a warrior. That monster reanimated them in an attempt to thwart me. A foolish ploy. These tricks only delay the inevitable.
Years after his death, Zhao Yun was resurrected by the power of the chisel, but like Wuchang, he had lost all memories of his past life. Only the lingering turmoil born from resentment remained. Every gift demands a price. Those resurrected by a chisel suffer from the creeping madness that feeds on their deepest fears. Those with an iron will can confront and shatter this madness, but those who falter are consumed, becoming puppets of power. The dead soldiers who once fought by Zhao Yun's side were unintentionally summoned back by the Nine Lotus, a group once devoted to rituals warding off evil. Now enslaved by rebels as ceremonial performers to resurrect their leader Zhang Xianzhong, these ritualists became tainted by red mercury, driven to delirium, endlessly waving flags and chanting hymns, unknowingly calling forth vengeful spirits. Seeing his fallen soldiers revived in agony, their suffering prolonged, only deepened Zhao Yun's inner torment. For 1,000 years, he wandered alone, battling with creeping madness while guarding the chisel from falling into the wrong hands. A feat only someone with Zhao Yun's unwavering resolve could accomplish. Only with Wuchang's help, by slaying the Avian tribe and severing the root of his resentment, did Zhao Yun finally regain his memories. After centuries of torment, the great general deserved peace. But first, he needed someone to carry on his will. Someone strong enough to resist madness, powerful enough to protect the chisel, and righteous enough to safeguard the people. His final battle with Wuchang was less a fight of hostility and more a ceremony of inheritance, echoing the ancient traditions between master and disciple. Zhao Yun entrusted Wuchang with his mission, knowing she would choose the right path.
Sis, do you think our baby brother will look like us? I'm so excited to meet him!
No use trying to stop you, is there? But don't come back crying when you start regretting.
The sad story of the Bai family. Causality cannot be easily altered, for all traces will eventually return to their roots. All clues about the chisel led Wuchang back to her home, the Bai mansion. There, a tide of sorrowful memories floods the mind of the amnesiac girl. Wuchang, whose real name is Bai Ziyun, is the daughter of Bai Tinjiao, a pacification officer of the Embroidered Uniform Guard, the same force as Hong Lan. In the first year of the Chongzhen Emperor's reign, Bai Tinjiao was injured, resigned from his post, and returned to Shu to recover. He was a benevolent official, respected by the people.
If only official Bai was still alive, that monster would have been dealt with long ago.
5 years later, his wife gave birth to a second daughter, Bai Yu, whom Bai Jia loved dearly. The traces of that love echo through the halls as Wuchang regains her memories. But in the 8th year of Chongzhen, the realm fell into turmoil. Bai Tingzhao longed to serve his country, but was unable to fight due to his injury. Hoping for a son to inherit his will and protect the people, he placed all his hopes on his wife. Ziyun, intelligent and perceptive, sensed her father's worries. To comfort him, she practiced swordsmanship with relentless dedication. Bai Tingzhao, touched by her determination, passed on the Bai family's sword techniques to Ziyun and gifted her the family heirloom blade, Cloudfrost's Edge. One day, a Taoist priest came to visit. He seemed to know Bai Tinjiao well and handed him a secret remedy, persuading him to let his wife take it. Soon, she was indeed pregnant again, and the doctor confirmed it would be a boy. Bai Tinjiao was overjoyed and named the child Bai Kru. But fate is cruel. During childbirth, complications arose, and both mother and child died. Bai Tinjiao was devastated. His obsession with having a son to carry on his legacy and fight for the nation drove him to madness. Desperate, he sought out the Taoist once more.
That chisel, I believe it's a treasure from Zhenwu Temple. But how did such an item end up in your home?
The Taoist spoke of the chisel hidden in Zhenwu Temple, a relic said to bring the dead back to life. Bai Tinjiao seized upon this hope and ordered Bai Ziyun to guard the coffin while he left in haste. When he returned the next day, he strictly forbade his daughters from entering the mourning hall. But before long, terrifying sounds of battle echoed from within. The child had indeed been resurrected, but tainted by red mercury.
Has our brother come back to life? Father looks so young. He's much more capable than that Taoist.
It transformed into a grotesque monster, drinking its own mother's blood. Bai Tingzhao chose to face the consequences of his sins alone. He ordered his daughters to flee immediately. Bai Ziyun wanted to save her father and opened the door, only to be attacked by writhing tentacles. In a final act of love, Bai Tingzhao severed the tentacles, tossed Cloudfrost's Edge to his daughter, and was dragged into the darkness. the two sisters, under the cover of night, fled Shu and headed for the sea to survive. Once a home of happiness, the Bai mansion became a place of unspeakable tragedy. A child brought back to life, yet turned into a monstrous abomination, killing the very parents who loved him. A cruel twist of fate no father could imagine.
The people remain blind to his will. Their ignorance has led to nothing but war and suffering. Tell me, if sacrificing the worthless could save the world, would you do it?
Since their inception, the shamans of the Bo people have borne the heavy responsibility of preserving the legacy of the king of Shu. After the Avian's war, Du Yu's act of sealing Bi Ling beneath the Bo capital cost him his divine power. He abandoned his avian form and led his kin to the surface, founding the Shu kingdom. However, he later discovered that Red Mercury and Sea Louise continued to thrive beneath the ancient capital of the Bo people. If left unchecked, they would undoubtedly pose a threat to the world. Seeking a solution, Du Yu left the ancient capital, disguising himself as an old storyteller, wandering the world in search of someone who could resolve this crisis. For centuries, the Bo people lived in seclusion underground. Millennia of exposure to Red Mercury gradually made their subterranean habitat increasingly hostile and unsustainable. Yet, bound by Du Yu's oath of protection, the one they revered as their primordial deity, the Bo people endured in silence, generation after generation, year after year. That is, until the Bo Magus witnessed how the Bo sorcerers tribe in the Avian Marsh had shed their human forms and ascended back into their ancestral feathered forms through blood sacrifice. This revelation drove her to defy Du Yu's command and embrace the practice of sacrificing human blood as sustenance, believing it would restore the Bo people to their former glory and ensure their continued survival. To her, even the sacrifice of innocent human lives was inconsequential, merely the price for the Bo people's salvation.
The Magus brought them to worship's rise. She was seduced by power, and her actions have cursed the world.
It has been long since the primordial deity Du Yu last answered his followers. Seizing the silence, the Bo Magus invoked his name and twisted his sacred teachings for her own ends. Du Yu's sacred shrine was cast away beneath the capital as the Bo people slowly forsook their own beliefs. Her actions aligned more closely with Bi Ling's ideology, sacrificing others to sustain one's own power and immortality. She gathered the strongest among the Bo as her underlings and dispatched them to the surface to carry out clandestine missions. So long as the Magus proclaimed herself the voice of the god of Shu, they cared not whether she was heir or heretic. The mark bearing the script of beginning or born on her back shows that she is actually just a reincarnated shell created by the chisel, existing as a puppet of the ancient Bo shamans. Similar to the perfect bride Fang Ling, who was brought back to life as a puppet of Wuchang, she retained a fragment of her consciousness. The Bo Magus actually uses a succession method that carries the consciousness of the ancient Bo shamans by finding the next successor who shares the same ideology and obsession. This concept ties into an ending of the game, which we will uncover in the next chapter. Zhang Xianzhong, a prominent figure alongside Li Zicheng, was one of the leaders of the late Ming Peasant Uprising and the founder of the Doxy regime. During the waning years of the Ming Dynasty, Zhang Xianzhong led his rebel army to occupy Shu, proclaimed himself emperor, and established the Doxy kingdom. He was described as tall in stature, with a yellow complexion and fierce temples, hence the nickname Yellow Tiger. When resurrected by a chisel, we can see that he merged with a tiger, staying true to his name. However, as in previous cases, using only one chisel can only resurrect a twisted version of the dead, one that becomes deformed or fused with grotesque creatures. His army was composed of all kinds of men: peasants, outlaws, thieves, and those dissatisfied or cast out by society. In their conquests, they committed countless brutal acts, massacring populations, seizing food sources, forcing people into cannibalism, looting treasures across the Shu region, and even raiding the Zhenwu temple for secret scrolls and powerful spells. Their campaigns were marked by conquest and plunder, yet they often failed to establish a stable governing system. After ruling Shu for several years, Zhang Xianzhong withdrew his forces due to the rampant spread of feathering. The Taoists in Zhenwu Temple were also afflicted with feathering. Due to their long-term consumption of elixirs containing red mercury, they transformed much faster than others. Overwhelmed by fear, they covered themselves with layers of talismans in an attempt to suppress the corruption. But after their complete transformation into monsters, the talismans had the opposite effect, causing them excruciating pain. A temple that had been revered for centuries was brought to ruin and slaughtered due to the information revealed in these letters, like some hidden hand seeking revenge. Just like at Cloudspire, anonymous letters were sent to all sides, exposing the locations of the chisels. It was all part of a complex scheme to make factions turn on each other, so that eventually someone could seize all the chisels from the ruins. Before being sent back to the underworld by Wuchang, Zhang Xianzhong declared his final wish, that his sons remain loyal to the Ming, not the Qing. He had been killed by the invading Qing army, whom he viewed as foreign invaders. To him, it was better for another Han dynasty to rule than to let the realm fall to outsiders. Another foreshadowing in the game's story is the rift between his sons. Zhang Xianzhong feared that some might betray their brothers and surrender to the Qing. Wuchang eventually discovers a secret letter intended for the Qing army, proof that there was already a traitor among them. During a battle with the Qing army, he was shot and killed. Due to the fragile regime that relied solely on Zhang Xianzhong's fearsome reputation, instability soon followed his death. At this critical moment, a secret missive, marked with the all-seeing eye, reached the generals. It revealed arcane arts capable of resurrecting their leader and disclosed the locations of the sacred chisels in Cloudspire and Zhenwu Temple. The four generals, adopted sons of Zhang Xianzhong, were divided over whether to bring back their father. Ai Nenqi and Liu Wenshu split their forces, moving toward Cloudspire and Zhenwu Temple respectively, determined to complete the resurrection. Meanwhile, Li Dingguo and Sun Qiwang wavered, torn between loyalty and fear of reviving Zhang's infamous legacy. Perhaps the most dignified and measured among the rebel generals, Li Dingguo was known for his courage and unwavering loyalty to Zhang Xianzhong. After Zhang's death, he was devastated, spending his days drinking and neglecting military affairs. When he learned of Liu Wenshu and Ai Menqi's resurrection plot, he was consumed by inner conflict. On one hand, he believed resurrecting Zhang would demand countless human sacrifices, a grave violation of moral principles. On the other, he was bound by gratitude, loyalty, and filial piety to the man who raised him. Ultimately, the unexpected arrival of Wuchang determined his fate.
This... The dead bear no witness. I couldn't bring myself to lead the army after father passed. Once that fellow visited the commander's tent, Ai Nengti and Liu Wenshu took charge. Yet who would have thought there were traitors among our ranks?
Wuchang gives him a letter revealing there is a traitor among the generals, someone who has contacted the Qing and exposed the resurrection plan. Li Dingguo resolves to hunt down and punish the betrayer. If Wuchang withholds this information, then after Wuchang slays the resurrected Zhang Xianzhong, Li Dingguo will challenge Wuchang in battle. Though driven by the duty of vengeance for his adopted father, deep down, Li Dingguo knows that letting Zhang remain dead was the right thing to do. After Zhang's death, Sim Qiwang sought to seize power and become leader of the rebel army. However, knowing Liu Wenshu and Ai Menqi were determined to retrieve the chisels and revive Zhang, he dared not oppose them openly. Instead, Sim Qiwang remained outwardly silent while secretly writing to the Qing army, informing them of the resurrection ritual at Zhenwu Temple. The letter, however, was never delivered. His messenger was devoured by the clam monster in Avian Marsh. This resonates with historical detail. After the rebel army's defeat, Sun Qiwang eventually defected and joined the Qing. And that brings us to the end of this video. Wuchang's journey is drawing to a close. Through everything she has witnessed, should she choose to pursue the purpose of resurrecting the dead or find a way to move on? This choice will determine the fate of her endless cycle of reincarnation. There are still side stories of NPCs and remaining characters that are directly tied to the game's meaning. such as the true identity of the boatman and how the game incorporates the concept of the Outer God Yog-Sothoth. These will be revealed in the final chapter set in Bow Capital. I've tried my best to preserve the original details from the 4 patch 1.5, keeping the game's original ideas intact. As you can see, I've used sources from the original Chinese version, which provided a clearer understanding of the backstory. Regardless of differing opinions, the freedom of creative expression should always be respected. Personally, I empathize with the developers for their efforts to craft a deep and meaningful story, even though they were caught in the crossfire of criticism and debate. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next chapter.